Anyone suffering through some challenge, you've kind of got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps at some point and start walking forward. And that just may be one day at a time, one step at a time, but that's the first step in moving in the right direction.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Eric Eaton. Previously, episode 422 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 11 months, 24 days, 4 hours, and 45 minutes since we last had that recorded conversation.
Get out of your comfort zone. Go talk to those people you wouldn't talk to anyways, because you'll probably learn a tremendous amount, not only about yourself, but about those people around you.
That was then. This is now. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on again. I had not realized it was that long.
Well, that is something I've been getting consistently, that response. And I really believe it's because of the potency of the conversation we had and what occurs in the online space. I guess there needs to be some type of psychological study there. But it really feels as though it was a couple of months ago, if that long, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's what it feels like.
Now, you're the raging sloth, so I guess you are moving pretty fast, right?
Yeah, everything moves slow in my world, too.
Now, let's dig into what is the update from the last time we spoke to now. When we did speak, you were the author of The Raging Sloth. That's why I referred to that. And, battling with chronic pain and living a life that was surpassing what that could nail you to the cross to, pun intended, right?
Right.
Is something you were getting by on. So what's the update?
Yeah, so since that book came out, I had a lot of conversations and a lot of feedback. And so I wrote my second book, and it's called The Thrival Guide. And a lot of it comes back from people who not necessarily were in chronic pain, but they're dealing with challenging situations or circumstances, and they really didn't know what to do. So the Thrival Guide was kind of my answer to how do we truly live a thriving life in a complicated and challenging world. And so I kind of put in some steps and some things to understand about all the aspects of this life, this culture, the things that are kind of working against us, and then how we can understand the effect it's having on us and then move forward, enjoying life a lot better instead of letting that stuff drag us down.
Now, is reflection a major part of your life living up in the Colorado mountains? Does that impact the way you bring content? Of course, there's the blog that you do as well, right? But is that affecting the way your content is evolving?
Yes, because it's having these conversations with people. It's working with an organization that has a lot of young people in it, getting their feedback, and then just kind of processing it. I mean, what's the common message that's coming out of a lot of these conversations? And then trying to see, is there an answer? Is there a avenue that we can help them in their struggles or their challenges in this life so that they can live a better life?
It feels as though there are two sides of your mind, which is one, the entrepreneurial side, and one, like the I need to help you side, which is really connected, right? In that the business person really is helping the needs of someone. The other is where you just take out the cost of it and you just jump in and help someone, right? Sacrificing, making sacrifices. How has that evolved in your life?
Yeah, I think it's always been kind of a part of who I was, but it really, when through the aspect of living in chronic pain, when you're living a life that's kind of defined and every day is a painful aspect, it really drives you to do something kind of bigger than yourself. When you can serve someone, when you can help someone, it's obviously makes you feel better about what you're doing and about your own life. And it's something that we all should be doing. But when you have that constant nagging, that constant pulling, extremely beneficial in my life just to be able to serve others in any type of capacity that I can and help me understand my own pain and what I learned through that experience as well.
Would you say that is the sweet spot that you found?
Yo, absolutely. That is my sweet spot and where I like to live and how I truly thrive.
Now that you found that spot, right, is it challenging? No. Can that pose to be a threat to the same said thing that it was helping you get away from?
Yeah, and it can from the standpoint of there's an unlimited need out there. So you can definitely stretch yourself too far by doing too much. And so that's part of that balance is being able to kind of understand my physical limitation, how am I feeling even in a certain day, and balancing that with the activities that I've planned and who I'm trying to invest in that particular day.
Hmm. The physical side definitely has its boundaries. I would dare to say that I believe there's a spiritual side of what carries you on. Would that be accurate? And if so, please expand.
Oh, yes. I spent many years as a pastor. I have a deep spiritual side, and that's a daily aspect of trying to spend time with Christ, spend time in prayer, spend time in worship. That also helps with that balance and helps understanding when your life doesn't compare to other people and doesn't look like you think it should, the reminder that it's still good and it's still doing good things. And that really comes from that spiritual side and keeping life balanced in the standpoint of not letting the world kind of define who you are or who you should be, but finding the foundation in something much deeper than yourself.
Very powerful, very, very powerful. Now, there are three children running around somewhere in the mix there, right? How has all of this impacted them?
So yeah, the last couple of years, so we have a sophomore in college, I got a senior and a junior in high school. So it's been a good process for them. When I released The Raging Sloth, it was an opportunity for them to kind of hear my entire story from a different perspective when they read it, because it's something they lived through, but wasn't something that they kind of knew all the pieces of, just even being in the same house. And so watching them grow through that and reading the Thrival Guide and understanding just all the negative aspects, especially kids that age deal with when it comes to social media, when it comes to advertisement, when it comes to comparison and who they should be. It's just helping them find that central avenue of, you're more than that and you're more than what the world's telling you. So you need to learn to shut a lot of that noise out and concentrate on who you truly are so you can become the young adult and the adult that you were created to be.
One of the disadvantages of having a wife in the mix of these things is that we're comfortable and we let our guards down around this person that we love so much, right? So, I mean, like, you approach the world and you can put up like that face value of, hey, it's going to be all right. The wife, however, she has to see you when you're all out, right? How has everything that you've been going through impacted her?
Yeah, I always say she has a special place in heaven just for dealing with me. And she takes it all in stride. And obviously, I think it's our tendency sometime when someone's upset or down that we think it's our fault. And so that's obviously something that, she struggles with, even though when it has nothing to do with her, it's my own pain. So it's been part of our growth process of realizing that there's times when I've just got to kind of be left alone. And she knows that now. And it's a growth process for her as well. Obviously, when you're at the wedding and you're saying for better, for worse, you don't think much about what that worse really looks like. But she has for almost 26 years now tolerated and put up with it, and been probably the one reason I've survived as long as I can have and been as productive as I have because of her support, even though it's definitely not an easy place for her to be, and for her to constantly see that pain and suffering in someone she loves.
Totally can see that occurring. You spoke about getting out of your comfort zone, but I think one of the powerful aspects of what you are teaching, what you're walking while you're talking, is getting out of your pain zone, right? Which is that place where, you can say it's justified, right? You could say that it's justified to be in pain and not move forward. How are you helping others, my friend, with that conversation?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think that's something probably most people or a lot of people are going to struggle with at some point when you're met with an overwhelming challenge or overwhelming situation that you didn't plan for. You really have two options. You can kind of just sit in it and let life happen, or you can kind of choose to rise above it. The pain's going to be here for me whether I choose to serve other people or sit on the couch. And so for me, the option of being able to serve other people, serve the kids in our camp that we run, serve young adults at the college nearby, is way more beneficial and life-giving than just sitting on the couch. And that's truly a conversation everyone has to have who's in that same position, is how do you want your life defined? Obviously, part of mine is going to be defined by pain, but a lot more hopefully will be defined by what I did through my pain and in spite of my pain and the ability to serve others. And that's kind of the message of anyone in chronic pain, anyone suffering through some challenge, I mean, divorce, bankruptcy, anything like that, you've kind of got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps at some point and start walking forward. And that just may be one day at a time, one step at a time, but that's the first step in moving in the right direction. And that's, I think, something we're all called to do regardless of our circumstances.
I totally agree. Now, for those listening, where's the best place for them to connect with you, Eric?
So they can go to ericpeaton.com and they kind of find out about all my books out there and kind of what I'm up to lately.
It is a great pleasure for me to connect and have this conversation, to call out and say, Eric, are you doing what you said you were going to be doing? It is both motivational and inspirational, my friend, both to me and those that are listening, that you've continued, that you've not given up, despite the fact that you could have said, with all right, hey, this is enough, I'm going to stay on the couch. So I want to say thank you. Thank you on behalf of humanity for how you're serving and how you're helping. I appreciate that tremendously from my small part in the world, right? Especially after I've seen the size of your mountains, right, in Colorado. But
right.
More than that, really, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. My friend, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me on here again. And it's always a pleasure having this conversation and contributing to what you're doing in a grand scheme.
I appreciate you very much. A pleasure I treasure. Eric Eaton, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.